planner. And for me, the idea of being an entrepreneur just sounded like something that people start a lot of things, but they don't finish them, which was my worst nightmare. I did not want to be part of it. I did not want to be jumping from one project to the next. And so I never even really thought that that was a title that could cover what I wanted to do. And then I was tricked. So I was tricked by my father. So he started David's Tea with David. And he tricked me by saying, you know, kind of challenge yourself. You're in school, and why would you just study and kind of repeat the equations that people want you to repeat? He's like, you know a lot about tea. I had lived in China for 3 years, and in my mind, this wasn't an asset. It was just something I had done to further my scientific career. And then when he pointed out, you know, I'm starting a tea company, I'd really like your input on the tea. And he was the one that really tricked me into saying, okay, give it a shot for 1 year and kind of challenge yourself. I know it's not your comfort zone. So what I can just suggest to everyone is be open to what your comfort zone is, because you might get an opportunity that you never, you know, even thought about, that you didn't think would be you. So once I left the cozy world of academia, I think I can reflect on the fact that I think any students that are here today are taking the right path, because essentially your studies are going to give you an amazing academic foundation, and I cannot tell you how much I value the time I spent in school. And having completed my master's, and I was considering going into my PhD, and I never completed that PhD. I never even started it because I got sucked into being an entrepreneur. Really, what I want to say is that it is a fantastic foundation for anything you do in business, because it gives you an incredible confidence. Now, some people talk about how they worry that what they studied isn't going to apply. And all I can say is, if you manage to finish in a degree in something that you don't even like, that's a skill. That's an amazing ability to finish something. And I think that there's something to be said about that as well. So if you struggle through something, I admire it, and I think that it's an incredible achievement. So I'm going to just go to my presentation that I put together here. I wanted to give a little bit of an overview about the beginning of Squish, because this has been an exciting past 3 years for me to kind of make the transition from working in one crazy startup to a new one. And it's been an amazing ride. Like I said, I have a dream job, and I could not be happier. Despite the exhaustion, the stress, and all of the negatives, there's more positives at the end of the day. So if you want me to talk about that with you after, I'm happy to share. This is a company that it's been an absolute amazing wild ride. And one of the things I touched on in my branding presentation was how the real experience of the company started with a very simple message, and that was to bring a very joyful experience to eating candy. Amazingly, in the candy space, when we first started, we thought that people weren't having enough fun with candy. So we wanted to make a very special experience and something very dedicated to our customers, and a very focused place in a mall for us to share our product. So that's where our candy manifesto started. As of January, we were able to start our first partnerships with different charities, and that was actually a really big milestone in our company. Just being so young and being so strapped for cash, as most startups are, we thought it was really something we wanted to do from the beginning, which was and we want to continue to expand it. So I just wanted to bring that up right at the beginning, that we are really into partnerships with other brands, and it's been a really big landmark for me as an entrepreneur for us to be able to give away money so early in our development, because it is really stressful to keep going and to get to that point so early. So I just wanted to share this picture, because you might ask, I studied water sciences early on and environmental sciences, and here I am back in a lab coat. So as an example of how do you use your academic background, there's so many stories of people who study something and then use a part of that in a completely different field. And I think an entrepreneur's talent is being able to leverage whatever skills you have, whether that's a language skill, a knowledge of a certain area of the world, certain expertise in technology, and being able to translate that across lines. I'm here in a candy manufacturing facility. I did not study this. I had no idea. Like I said earlier, I was a tea blender, and I learned a lot of stuff on the job, having just known a lot about Chinese tea. And I think that there's something that you should just push yourself and kind of dig deep in how you think creatively you can use your skills. So this is what I've been doing for the past 3 years, which is finding really incredible flavors and looking to kind of develop and bring stuff that people wanted to market. And there's been an amazing amount of, I'd say, scientific research where I ask a ton of questions and spend a lot of time with customers trying to figure out what they want. And that's what our brand is all about. So it's really about developing a wider range of gummies that weren't previously on the market. So this is just a kind of slide to show some of our flavors and our approach to making gummies. And so altogether, I'd say in the past 7 years, I've developed an incredible respect for the term entrepreneur, having lived the experience and seeing that it is actually a very structured role when you want to bring something original to market. So it's not something that you can just dream up and say, oh, I want a flamingo gummy that tastes like a cosmopolitan, or I want Loha with real pieces of pineapple. So that's not something that just happens. There's an incredible amount of discipline and feedback and testing and kind of calculated risk when we develop products, and that's called the product development cycle. And I have an incredible admiration for other entrepreneurs because I see people doing it kind of across categories. I see it in technology, I see it in software development where people ask a ton of questions and kind of want as much feedback as possible on their products. And that's something, I might be doing it for gummies, but people do it for all kinds of fashion products or whatever. And it's just such a hallmark of being an entrepreneur in my mind, which is asking tons of feedback from really mean people. You want people to, spit out a bad gummy or tell you really what they think. And if you can surround yourself with that kind of feedback, you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches later. And this is a slide just about our branding, and this is really about how we decided to focus, I would call your attention to vegan gummies, because that was something I learned as I was doing a lot of research, that people were searching for this on the market. There wasn't enough vegan options, and I'm still working night and day to make sure we have the most innovative vegan and alternative sugars in our products. And this is really where as an entrepreneur, I was looking a lot at the candy market when I first decided to open. And again, I touched on this in my branding discussion, but really to try to hit something, I think a hallmark of my skill set that's an entrepreneur is trying to do something that doesn't exist on the market. And I think that, again, applies to a lot of different fields, but try to tap into that. My idea of original was trying not to replicate a chocolate box with gummies inside. So that's what we've done in our mixes and our cakes, and you can see our 30 Days to a Sweeter You calendar. That's an example of something that we've kind of really developed in-house. It's a kind of inspirational gummy challenge that we tried to create and give as a gift. And our astrology collection, things like this that we've really tried to innovate within the space and try to do things that are different than what was already out there. So I'd say that my biggest observation, again, this is our store design. And my biggest observation as an entrepreneur, and that I could share with you, is that it is a very difficult process to kind of choose priorities and to kind of make yourself have a life and try to get everything done, basically. This is something that growing our stores and our teams has been an incredible process, and I spoke to two entrepreneurs from Montreal in our earlier session, and they were talking about how when you grow a network or an organization to a certain size, you can't personally be involved in everything. So you have to be able to let go. And this is something I continually learn. And again, I said I was a very detail-oriented person. And as an entrepreneur, you do kind of have to be everywhere at all times. So we've been fortunate enough to grow to 9 stores over the past 3 years. This is our tasting wall where you can taste free candy. It's been very great in encouraging people to try our product. And so we're currently at a point now where, I mean, I'll use David's Tea as a reference. I was part of growing that company, and 1 year we grew 60 locations. Now that was a strategy that was particular for that company. But with this company, I have to say, it's really a choice of how fast you want to grow and not responding to other people's desires. So I'm at a point where we have a lot of interest from different people who want us to franchise or open in their cities, and it's very important for me personally and for my team to kind of evaluate with what we want to do versus what's available. Now, whether that's financial opportunity that, you know, say you have a great new concept and people are pounding down your door, it doesn't mean that you should grow for them. You should grow for you and at the pace that's right for you. I read a quote recently from Randy Zuckerberg, who said that there are 5 important things for every entrepreneur: maintaining friendships, building a great company, spending time with family, staying fit, and getting sleep. Pick 3. I agree. And I pick 3 every day, so you can't have it all. I've tried. And so I guess my point with growth and kind of managing a project or a company is that you really have to look at, I'm looking at this opportunity right here, we grew to this size, but really you have to look at what's right for you and your team versus what some other people might think is the right step. So I encourage you to really get in touch with what you want in your business, and I know that I'm trying to do that as a kind of a victim of our own growth, is that people want you to grow and keep growing and expanding, and you have to make sure you do it at the right pace. I think that's, oh, I'm pricking the wrong button. I wanted to just make a little point about digital, because it's an incredible opportunity right now. I'm in the retail business, and I mean, it's just completely changed in the past 10 years. There's just no, and that's another thing about being an entrepreneur. You have to be ready to react. And the way that I think any entrepreneur in this kind of day and age can make sense of it is that it's a 24/7 work environment and work expectation. Customers want to be serviced 24 hours a day, and that's not going to go anywhere. That's the new normal. And as an entrepreneur, you have to make sure not to burn out. It can be very tempting to be responding to Instagram messages or Facebook Messenger in the middle of the night, but I really recommend, and what I'm learning as I